So isn't the theory about the universe being the manifestation of Bhagwan Shri Krishna for the entire Hindu culture? And if this is so, then what are the sentiments of the Shaiv, Shakt, or any other sampradaya other than the Vaishnav sampradaya regarding the metaphysical swarup of the Jagat? Or if they understand that Bhagwan himself has created the universe and he is the material cause of this Jagat, then why do they consider worshipping other gods and goddesses?
See, Brahma is the metaphysical name of the element. We consider that Brahma is the element and he has created the universe. So Brahma doesn't have any name, any form, and any sort of structure as per Upanishad. Now Upanishad explains that Ekam Sad Vipra Bahudha Vadanti. It means that the same tattva, the same metaphysical form is elaborated by many Brahmins in many different with many different names and forms, which we say that for example we say that Krishna is Brahma, he is the ultimate element. Who are the devotees of Shiva, they would say that Shiva is the ultimate element. Upanishad doesn't provide any name. Yeah, Gopalatapani Upanishad, it defines that Krishna is the Parabrahma and no one else. But after the Ved and Upanishad, we have Puran, and Puran explain the worshipping methods of different gods and goddesses. For example, Shiv Puran would like to say that Shiv is the ultimate reality. The Devi Bhagavat would say that Devi Shakti is the ultimate reality. Bhagavat, which is Vaishnava Puran, it would say that Krishna is the ultimate reality. So all these are different Puran which explain the worshipping method of the Ishtadevata, the one whom we want to achieve. But as per Mahaprabhuji, we are not supposed to interpret Upanishad or Ved independently or on our own, but we are supposed to understand the meaning of the text from Gita, Brahma Sutra and Bhagavat respectively. So Ved are not supposed to be understood independently, but we have to understand Ved through Gita as Bhagavan manifested in the form of Bhagavan manifested in his incarnation and then explained the meaning of Ved. So Ved are ultimately the words of Bhagavan only, and as we aren't capable of understanding the meaning of Ved independently, Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita has explained that what Ved wants to explain. So what Mahaprabhuji wants, so we are not supposed to interpret the Ved independently. We have to take the reference of Gita for understanding the meaning of Ved and Upanishad. As Ved and Gita both are direct words of Bhagavan himself. So as in Gita, Bhagavan explains that I am the one who is the creator, I am the one about whom Ved speaks, and therefore ultimately the whole Ved concludes in my form. So as per these words of Gita, Mahaprabhuji explains that as Bhagavan himself is proclaiming and Bhagavan himself is explaining his form, we are supposed to consider that Krishna is the Parabrahma. But whoever has faith in Shiv or Durga or Ganpati, etc., all the other gods and goddesses, he may worship them, he may have faith in them and consider them the ultimate reality and start worshipping them. So by considering those god and goddesses as ultimate reality, he would be attaining the result, he would be attaining those gods and goddesses as the result of his devotion. But they would be a step back because they lack understanding as Krishna is the Parabrahma. So Mahaprabhuji explains that then why Shiv Puran or Devi Bhagavat etc. all these texts explain that Shiv is the ultimate reality or Devi is the ultimate reality. So Mahaprabhuji in the Valbodh answers that as Bhagwan himself has manifested in these many forms, therefore these gods and goddesses are addressed as Brahma in their respective Purans, in those respective Purans. But actually, whatever sort of power they have, whatever work they do, everything is done with the orders and powers given to them by Bhagwan Shri Krishna. And therefore they have been addressed as ultimate reality in their Puran, but ultimately Krishna is the only Parabrahma and the creator of this universe. Is that clear with you?
Yeah, I understand.
Fine. Can you repeat what you understood?
Yeah, so I understood that Brahma does not have any form, and when we say that, Vaishnavas think that Bhagwan is the material cause of this universe, but in Shiv Puran, those who believe in Shiv, they think that Shiv is the main cause of this universe, and those who believe in Durga or Shakti, they think that she is the main cause of the universe. But Ved ultimately explains us that Bhagwan himself is the creator of this universe, and because Bhagwan has wrote the Ved, and because Ved is ultimately Bhagwan's words, we should consider the words and think that as Bhagwan himself has said that he is the creator, then we should believe them, and we should not think that something else.
Let me correct. I say that as Veda are the direct words of Bhagwan, same way Gita is also direct words of Bhagwan, Bhagavad Gita. So there, as Bhagwan is clarifying, we can understand that as Veda is out of our reach, we are not able to understand the meaning of Veda properly, and therefore we are not supposed to interpret the Veda on our own and independently, because our brain doesn't have that capacity to understand what Veda explains, and therefore Mahaprabhuji wants that we are supposed to interpret the meaning of Veda as explained in Bhagavad Gita. So we are supposed to consider Gita for understanding Veda. And as in Gita, Bhagwan is saying that I am the Purushottam, I am the one who is the creator. As I have created the whole universe, you are supposed to consider me the Parabrahma. So by considering the words explained in Gita, we are understanding the meaning of Veda, and therefore Mahaprabhuji explains that Krishna is the Parabrahma. And Bhagavat is the developed or detailed form of Gita only. Mahaprabhuji says that Bhagavat is Vistar of Gita. It means Gita has elaborated itself in the form of Bhagavat. So when we are understanding the Tattva, or when we are trying to understand the metaphysical form of this universe or Brahma, we are supposed to consider Veda first of all. The second step will be Gita. The third one will be Brahma Sutra, which are written by Vyas. Vyasji, they are the conclusion of Ved, and the fourth one will be Bhagavat. So by considering all these texts, ultimately we are supposed to understand the meaning of Tattva, or we are supposed to conclude with our understanding, not on independent basis. Is that clear?
Yeah, so you explained that because Ved, in order to understand Ved properly without interpreting the words, Mahaprabhuji has told us to understand Gita, which can further develop our understanding of the Ved. And if we don't understand Gita, so there's like 4 steps in understanding the true reality of this universe. So first we need to understand the Ved, then we need to understand the Gita, and after Gita we understand the Brahma Sutra and then Bhagavad. So after understanding these 4 scriptures, you can have a good view of this universe as Bhagwan's manifest, because as Bhagwan's as the Jagat being the Bhagwan's creation.
Fine. Any other question?
Yeah, I have a question. So I understand that the attribute of Anand is concealed in Jad and Chetan beings, but can you explain like what happens when this is revealed? And like when a person is performing seva with like love and devotion and bhakti, they can be graced by Bhagwan and their Anand Tattva can be revealed. But how does this get revealed with Jad objects, and to what extent is the Anand displayed?
See, Jad objects are never able to obtain the attribute of Anand in them, because as they aren't even, they don't even have the attribute of consciousness in themselves. Therefore, they won't be developing that attribute. But yeah, the beings, individual beings like us, by the methods which are explained in the Ved for attaining salvation, at the ultimate stage of that method for attaining salvation, we can obtain the Anand, the attribute of Anand in ourselves with the grace of Bhagwan. Even with the devotional path, as Bhagwan would be gracing us, and even with the methods which are explained in the Ved, for example, Karma Marg, Jnana Marg, etc. So, the proportion of Anand will be different. The method or the process of invoking that Anand will be different. And the condition when we have invoked the Anand in us, even that would be different. But yeah, Anand can be invoked by the methods for attaining salvation which are explained in the Ved.
Okay. So to summarize, you said that the Jad objects can never attain Anand because they don't possess the attribute of Sat or consciousness, but Chetan beings can attain Anand at the last stage of salvation, and this is different according to like how like the proportion process and the condition in which they like choose to attain this.
See, for example, to understand this better, for example, if we are following the path of devotion, and at the last stage of our devotion, which in our words we would say Nirodha, the stage where our mind is totally concentrated in Sri Krishna, and we don't have any other thought in our mind other than Bhagwan. So it is the ultimate standard of devotion, the last one. After that, Mahaprabhuji explains that a devotee would be having the result of Alaukik Samarthya. You people may write it down. Alaukik Samarthya is the resultant standard of devotion. Alaukik Samarthya means that in that stage, we would be experiencing Krishna. It means Bhagwan will talk to us, Bhagwan will be expressing his wish with us, he will be sharing things with us, and we would be able to understand Bhagwan, Bhagwan would be able to communicate with us. So that's the standard where our sensory organs lose all the worldly attributes, and they become divine, and therefore they have the capacity to interact with Bhagwan. So that's the level of Alaukik Samarthya, which is the result of devotion for us. as we find in the story of 84 Vaishnavas, that they used to talk with Bhagwan, they used to have conversations with Bhagwan, Bhagwan used to express their demands, etc. So this is how the attribute of Anand invokes in a devotee, in a Pushti Margya devotee, because we don't want to feel oneness with Bhagwan. We don't want to feel that Bhagwan and we are one, but we want to feel Bhagwan, we want to be a slave of Bhagwan throughout our life, and therefore we would like to be with Bhagwan. That's what will be the sort of result of devotion for us, and that's the method of invoking Anand for a Pushti Margya devotee. On the other side, for the people who are following Karma Marg or Gyan Marg for attaining devotion, they would be feeling oneness with Bhagwan at the ultimate level of their sadhan, at the ultimate level of the method for attaining salvation. They would be feeling oneness with God, with Brahma, and they would feel that their Atma, their soul, is a part of Brahma, and their soul will lose all the worldly attributes, all the worldly materials, and it would be free from the bondages. That is the sort of Anand, the process of invocation of Anand for a Gyan Margi. So processes are different, the feelings are different, but with the grace of Bhagwan, each and every process of salvation would proportionately develop the Anand attribute in the individual being. But it isn't possible with the Jad, with the insentient beings.
Okay, I understand.
As they don't even have consciousness, they won't ever be able to feel the attribute of Anand in themselves. So it is totally useless.
Okay. Should I explain?
Yes.
Okay, so as mentioned before, Jad objects can never attain Anand because they don't have the attribute of Sat or consciousness. But in Pushti Marg, a devotee, when they attain Nirod, which is the last stage of like devotion, they can, or like the stage right before attaining moksha, they can experience Alokik Samarthya, and this means that all of their senses are going to be attached to Shri Krishna, and their senses become divine as well. And they experience Shri Krishna and his Leelas, and their senses become divine as well. But in Pushti Marg, a devotee can never, like, the purpose is never to become one with Bhagwan. It's just to like get closer and perform the seva of him. While in Karma and Jnana Marg, the purpose is to attain oneness with Bhagwan, and so people can still attain Anand, but it's like the ways that they attain it can be different.
Yeah, fine. But the element, the attribute of Anand, it cannot be achieved or attained by our wish or our method. Ultimately, it is provided by Bhagwan. We must be very clear about this. Whatever sort of method we choose for attaining salvation or for invoking Anand, it can never be invoked only by the methods we have been following, but it can be achieved only with the wish of Bhagwan. So when Bhagwan feels that we have reached that standard and we are capable of invoking Anand in ourselves, we can invoke the Anand with the blessings and with the grace of Bhagwan, but not even Gyan Margi and not even Karma Margi, or not even by any of the method we can attain the attribute of Anand on our own or by our own methods. Fine. Any other questions?
I have a clarifying question. So, just from what Ashini was talking about earlier, so for insentient objects, will their Anand be forever concealed? Like it can never be unconcealed, like no matter what? Or is there like some exceptions?
No, they don't have any exception, because actually as the jad padarth or the non-living organisms, objects, they have been created just as a place or jagat. It is like just like a playground where the individual beings being players, they would be playing. So that sort, the purpose behind creating the jad object is not of having any sort of interaction with them or not making them a live participant in this universe, but they are just supposed to provide you a place, a sthan. So we are not supposed to interact with them, or they don't even have the attribute of consciousness in themselves. So the one who is not having the attribute of consciousness, it cannot even feel the anand. But yeah, about what exception you are asking, it is completely true that the attribute of consciousness and anand, both of them are concealed in them. They are not totally absent. So if Bhagwan wants, he can invoke. But we don't have any example of any such happenings in past. Just in the story of Gyaneshwar, he was a holy saint from Maharashtra in India. Once the another sage, who was very egoistic, he came riding a lion in front of him. He wanted to show that I have controlled the wild animals also. So at that time, Gyaneshwar was sitting on a wall. So he walked towards that saint, and what he wanted to express was that ultimately, even he is a wild animal, but he is a conscious being. But I have acquired the power to control non-living objects also. So in that story, we do have example that he made the wall walk towards that saint to kill his ego. But this happened with his spiritual powers, and but it's true that as Anand and consciousness, both these attributes aren't totally absent, but they are just inactive. So with the wish of Bhagwan, they can be active. It is what we would say that it is in exceptional case it is possible, but generally we don't have any such example, and it is not even useful to uh, manifest the attribute of Anand in them, as they lack consciousness.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. Any other question? Fine.
I have a question.
Yes.
Since Ved Vyas wrote the Ved, and he was also Krishna, who wrote the other Purans like Shiv Puran and Devi Puran, different Devi Purans?
Each and every Puran aren't created, Puran are divided. Same way about Ved. Vyas word means the one who is divider, the one who divides. So even Ved was only one. Vyas divided the Ved into 4 parts, as he divided them into different subjects. And same way, even Puran aren't one. Puran are also Puran was one formerly, but Vyas divided the Purans into 18 parts. So we have 18 Purans. But yeah, they are, we can say that they are created by Vyas only. But among them, Bhagavat is Mahapuran and the other are only Purans. The difference is that the 10 Leela of Brahma are explained in Bhagavat, and therefore Bhagavat is Mahapuran, and the other Purans dictate only 5 Leela, and therefore they are known as Puran. Puran have 3 varieties, Vaishnav Puran, Shaiva Puran and Shakta Puran. So Vaishnava Puran are the one who explain Vishnu as the ultimate reality. Shakta Puran are the one which explain Devi as the ultimate reality. And Shaiva Puran are the Puran which explains the Shiv as ultimate reality. But Mahaprabhu ji in the Balbodh, it is the second Granth from Shodas Granth, 16 texts which are written by Sri Mahaprabhu ji. So there Mahaprabhu ji explains that all these Puran explain these gods and goddesses are the ultimate reality because they are manifestations of Brahma only. And as they have powers of Brahma, as they have attributes given by Brahma, therefore they have been explained as ultimate reality. But ultimately, Krishna is the Parabrahma. He is the only ultimate reality and no one else. Is that clear?
Thank you.
Fine. I am glad that you are participating in this live session. Where is Vishwanath? Okay. No, that's okay. Yeah. Fine. Do we have any other question? Fine. So let us conclude today's session here. Let me summarize what we had learned in the before this topic. That we understood that this universe was created by Bhagwan as a playground, and we, the individual beings, are the players here. And a player can be a good player only if he is aware about the place where he is supposed to play. So we have to understand the form of universe, we have to understand our own metaphysical form, the purpose behind our creation, and these questions are answered by Ved, Gita, Bhagavad and Brahma Sutra. So what we understood was that Brahma himself has created this universe out of his own attributes and characteristics. He has created of Anand, which explains or which has the attribute of being unlimited. So this was the topic which we had understood in the cosmic classes, and we had nice questions today. You people may summarize, compile these questions and answers, and yeah, let us conclude our session here. What we had to say some.
ના ના એ તો લાઈન ચાલુ રાખજો એટલા માટે જ મેં ડિસ્કનેક્ટ નહીં